Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. This one's going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to be looking at the cost to build Mephisto to level 60 and the cost to take him from 60 to a top 10 build. Along the way, I'll also give some advice on how you might want to build him for PvE or PvP. But in order to keep this video short and quick, I left the testing for another video, so if you're interested to see how it does, make sure you check that out. So jumping straight into it, you can see I have around 36,000 black antimatter and around 16,000 chaos norn stones. And then in terms of the T3 materials, I have 10,500 CCF, around 11,200 Essence of Dimension, and about 9,600 Titan component packs. Since I have the majority of my roster already ranked up, I have an obscene amount of biometrics, so you can see here I'm currently at 108,000. Also take note of the amount of gold that I currently have before I do all the upgrades, which is 471 million and about 400,000. So moving on to the upgrades. Obviously, if you want to unlock Mephisto, you need to beat him at least 10 times in his World Boss Legend stage. Since I've already done that, I'm acquiring him now, as well as sharing to my alliance that I have unlocked Mephisto. Because why not? He's a native T3 character, and your alliance needs to know. The people need to know. So anyway, since I haven't touched the character, I obviously have no growth score and have no current rank. Similar to Null, you can use either black antimatter or biometrics to upgrade Mephisto. And as you saw, it takes either 272 rank 1 black antimatter or 326 biometrics. And since I have so many biometrics, that's obviously what I'll be using, going from level 1 to 40. So speeding through here, I'm just selecting all the biometrics that aren't really useful to me, especially for characters that have no uniform or that I have uniforms mythic already. In order to continue ranking up the character, I need to get to 3 stars, and to do that, I need to use CCF. So if you're curious what the cost is to get to 2 stars, it's 210 CCF, and the gold cost to combine the CCF totals 1.5 million, and to actually advance to the next level or the next star, you need to also pay 1.2 million gold. Then to get to 3 stars, it costs 350 CCF, and the gold combined cost is totaled at 4,375,000, and to actually advance to the next star level, it costs 1.8 million. So the total cost for the 3rd star alone is 6,175,000. For the 2nd star, it was 2,700,000. Now I can continue the rank up process, and for levels 40 to 45, it requires 339 black antimatter, or if you're using biometrics like I am, it's 407 total. A little editing magic, and I am now at level 45. Continue from here, you need to get the 4th star, and in order to do so, it's going to cost 560 CCF, as well as a total of 9 million gold to combine the CCF. And in addition to that, in order to progress to the next level, i.e. press the button to go to the next level, it also requires 2.4 million gold. So therefore, the total cost for the 4th star is 11,400,000 gold. Going from level 45 to 50 requires 726 black antimatter or 871 biometrics. To continue ranking up to level 55, you need a 5th star, and that's going to cost you 840 CCF, as well as a total of 15,375,000 gold to combine it all, and an additional 3 million gold to actually progress to the next star. Meaning that the total cost for the 5th star is going to be 18,375,000 gold. To then get to level 55, you need 1,873 bios, or alternatively 1,562 black antimatter, as you saw there. Again, before you can get to level 60, you also need to get the 6th star, which will run you a hefty 1,120 CCF and a total combined cost of 22 million gold. Meaning that with the 3.6 million gold that you actually need to get the star, this upgrade will cost you 25,600,000 gold. So as you can see here, if you want to progress to level 60, you can now use 3,359 black antimatter, or alternatively 4,029 biometrics. If you thought you were done there, well, don't be silly. You gotta do the mastery as well. Similar to Null, because Mephisto is a native T3, he also requires books to advance his mastery, unlike native tier 2s that require Chaos Nornstones. If you want to do the mastery in one shot like I am, you need to get the selectors and stack past the 10 cap. Otherwise, you're going to have to do this in 2 parts. As you can see here, Mephisto obviously requires blast books, a total of 12 to get to 6 stars right away, as well as the 5,040,000 gold. Like I mentioned previously, it's essential that you share your progress because the people need to know. Anyways, if you're wondering what the total cost so far is to get Mephisto from 1 to 6 stars, including the mastery, and without having done the gears upgraded yet, the answer is it's almost 70 million gold and roughly 3,000 CCF. From this point on, the cost varies depending on whether the RNG gods bless you or smite you. Also, I almost forgot, if you used only biometrics like I did, the cost was 7,500. Here I'm speeding through all the upgrades for my gears from 1 to 20, and if I recall correctly, I actually got pretty fortunate going from level 15 to 20 for the most part. I think I only had one multiplier that was over 20 and one multiplier that was 30. Unfortunately, those were both in the first gear, which are the most punishing because it's the most expensive, but because the other ones were lower, then it kind of averaged out. So with the arcade sound effects ending there, the total cost for all my gears was roughly about 20 million gold. If you want to upgrade Mephisto's skills from 1 to 5, which you should, it'll be about 3.2 million gold for each upgrade, and with there being 5 skills, the total cost will be roughly 16,500,000 gold. Also, I forgot to mention earlier, the cost to upgrade my gears from 15 to 20 ran me 2,500 black antimatter, as well as 1,200 Essence of Dimension and 1,200 Titan component packs. Since this is a top 10 build, I also have to go for an ISO 8 set, as well as equip a custom gear and Uru or Odin's. The ISO 8 set that I'm going for personally is Power of the Angry Hulk, and this is generally because I prefer going for more offensive based ISO 8 sets than defensive ones. That just comes down to personal preference. You can see here I wasn't too sure which one to initially go for, so I also unlocked some of the additional ISO 8 slots. And if you wanted to go for defensive ISO 8 sets, you can always go for ones like Binary Power or Protect the Captain. Oh, and you also have Drastic Density Manipulation, which is also good. With card crafting in the game now allowing you to max out a lot of different stats, you're no longer forced to roll a specific ISO 8 set if a character is lacking a particular stat. I went with Power of Angry Hulk because I wanted a bit more attack speed, but if your particular card sets have a lot of attack speed, then you might not want to go for that. If you need dodge, for example, or skill cooldown, you can go for Hawk's Eye, or alternatively, if you have plenty of cooldown, you can just go for Overdrive. Anyways, after about 2 million gold, I get the ISO 8 set that I want, and now I'm just left to equip the ISO 8 itself. For the Chaos ISO 8, it depends on what your card stats are, like I mentioned before, but personally I'm going for HP because that's always a hard one to get. Anyways, that finishes off my ISO 8 set, so now I am going to equip a custom gear, and as you can see, the one that I went for is a CTP of Regeneration. Since I had a spare one, I decided to reforge it, but I wouldn't recommend people do that if you don't have a lot of these. Obviously, I'm going for a PvP build with this, but if you wanted to do a PvP build, you could also use a CTP of Authority, since he has Invincible, I believe, only on his 3rd skill. Or alternatively, you could also go for a CTP of Transcendence if you want to lower the reflect damage that he takes even lower, because his passive has a reduction to it. Or you could even go with Patience if you want that extra dodge, since he doesn't have a uniform, and if you don't have a lot on your cards, you can use that to kind of get to a higher value. I personally prefer Guard Break Immunity on my CTPs, so I would recommend Regen and Authority over the other two, but the choice always comes down to you. Additionally, from what I've seen, Mephisto has a lot of base damage, that's why I'm going with a defensive CTP, but if you wanted to go with an offensive one, you could easily try something like Greed and maybe Destruction. Although I don't think Destruction would be as good because Mephisto has a lot of skills that kind of linger and stack on one another, so you might not get a clean proc off using that CTP. That said, if you wanted to use Mephisto for PvE, then CTP of Energy wouldn't be as good for the same reason. For that content, I would probably recommend a Rage, or from what I hear, CTP of Judgment seems to work pretty well. I couldn't really tell you which one would work better, but if I had to guess, I would probably say a Judgment would be pretty close, if not better, because Mephisto only has 10% fire damage on his base kit, and usually Judgment works better when the character has a minimum amount of element damage on their kit. Anyways, that was the custom gear, so the last thing left to do here is to fully amplify all the Uru slots and equip the Odins. Skipping ahead here, it took me about 10 million gold to get all 5 gears fully amplified. If you're wondering what the stats look like before I mass equip all the Odins I have, here's what it is. Take particular note of the damage and HP if you're wondering how much of a bump Odins give you. So here you can see the Odins that I chose to equip, and that put me at an overall rank of 8. If you kept track of the stats from before, you'll see that my energy attack went up to 50,000 from 39,000, which is an increase of about 10,400 roughly, and my HP went from 99,000 to 112,000 now, which is an increase of about 13,500. You can clearly see that the Odins still provide a sizable stat increase, even though crafting has made them a bit less useful now. Anyways, that's the end of the video. In the upcoming videos I'm working on, I'll be looking at comparisons for the Fantastic Four uniforms and their upgrades, as well as testing out Mephisto at level 60 in both PvE and PvP, and then later on seeing how he does at level 70. As always, liking, commenting, and subscribing is always appreciated. Again, thanks for your time, but the video is now over.